Hi, this is Daryl Meyer from Keller, Texas. Today is Friday, August 20th, 2010. Thought this day would never get here. Love to see my Friday. Okay, well, still kind of quiet over there in Israel, Iran. No strike as of yet, like John Bolton was saying must happen. Hopefully it won't happen, but who knows. So, let's see what's going on in the news today. This first story out of Depka.com. Title says, Arab sources say a major military surprise is close. Gallant scandal is a smokescreen. War preparations are reported by Depka Files military sources in Tehran and Damascus. Depka Files military sources report. In Tehran, Iran's Revolutionary Guards announced today, Friday, August 20th, IRGC is in full readiness to encounter firmly with the stupidity of the U.S. and the Zionist regime. In Damascus, Syrian Prime Minister Naj al-Otari gathered his ministers and heads of security and emergency services Thursday and ordered them to place all their services on immediate war readiness. Now again, anytime I see Damascus in the news, I can't help but think of Isaiah 17:1 that says, Damascus will become a ruinous heap and will no longer exist as a city. This is one of the oldest cities on the face of the earth, and it has never ceased to exist as a city ever in human history. So this prophecy is clearly in front of us, and the more I see Damascus in the news, the more I think we're getting closer and closer to it actually happening. I'm not hoping and praying for it to happen. I'm watching and waiting, because it will happen eventually, because it's Bible prophecy. So that doesn't mean that I am hoping for it to happen. I know it will happen. So don't tell me it's me making it happen by mentioning it. I get a lot of that. It's weird. People think, oh, just because you're talking about Bible prophecies, they're going to happen. You know what? Bible prophecies are going to happen whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not. They're going to happen. Okay? Because I trust this. This is the Word of God. I trust it completely with my life, with the lives of my children. I believe every word, and so should you. So, it says Tehran pitched its threat level high by warning that any attack on Iran's nuclear sites would be met by the Revolutionary Guard targeting the interest of the enemies in any part of the world. And people, this is escalating. This is escalating. Definitely it is. It's getting pretty tense over there. Okay, here's a story out of Yahoo.com. The U.S. assures Israel on Iran's A-bomb plans. This out of Washington. The United States has persuaded Israel that Iran would take 1 year or longer to build a nuclear weapon, dimming the prospects of a preemptive strike on Iran's nuclear facilities, the New York Times said. We think they have roughly a year dash time, President Barack Obama's top advisor on nuclear issues, Gary Samore, was quoted as saying in the Daily's online edition. By dash time, the official referred to the shortest time Iran would take to build a nuclear weapon, judging from its existing facilities and capacity to convert stocks of low-enriched uranium into weapons-grade material, a process known as breakout. Okay, you know what? I don't think it's going to take them a year. Of course, I have no expertise in nuclear fission or any of that stuff, but a year sounds way too long. We already know they have, like 10 kilos of over 20% enriched uranium, and that's just what they're allowing us to know. They're probably hiding the real truth from us. So, interesting the way things roll out. Here's a story also out of Yahoo.com. Iran test fires a surface-to-surface missile. This out of Tehran. Defense Minister Ahmad Vahidi announced today that Iran has test-fired a surface-to-surface missile, Qiam, Q-I-A-M, a day before it's due to launch its Russian-built first nuclear power plant. State television showed images of the sand-colored Qiam, which means rising, blasting into the air from a desert terrain amid chants of Allahu Akbar, which means God is greatest. The words Ya Mahdi were written on the side of the missile, referring to Imam Mahdi, one of the 12 imams of Shiite Islam who disappeared as a boy and whom the faithful believe will return one day to bring redemption to mankind. You know what else they believe, though? They believe in order to usher in this Imam, this Mahdi, they have to create global chaos. And Mahmoud Ahmadinejad is one of the biggest followers of this faith. So when he tells the world he's pursuing nuclear technology for peaceful purposes, I don't believe him, because he's going to use that to usher in this Imam with global chaos. You know, I've seen him say he has to do this. I've been following this guy, and he's out there, okay? He's out there, and he will make this happen. So keep an eye on that, because that's why he's doing what he's doing, because of his religious beliefs. Okay, looks like, now I've got a couple of stories here about this. This first one out of haaretz.com. U.S. says direct peace talks to begin on September 2nd in Washington. Hillary Clinton, George Mitchell say through peace talks between Israel and the Palestinians, all final status issues can be resolved in 1 year. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas have been invited to Washington to begin direct peace talks on September 2nd, U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton said during a press conference today. The meeting will serve to relaunch direct negotiations to resolve all final status issues, which we believe we can complete in 1 year, Clinton said. Now remember, Barack Obama said, if they can't reach a peace agreement by September or October, I am going to force one on them. He said that, a direct quote. So it just kind of makes you wonder, where did this 1 year time frame now pop into the picture? She goes on to say, there have been difficulties in the past, there will be difficulties ahead. Without a doubt, we will hit more obstacles. The enemies of peace will keep trying to defeat us and to derail these talks, but I ask the parties to persevere. President Barack Obama will hold one-on-one talks with each of the 4 leaders separately on September 1st, followed by a dinner with them, Clinton said. Former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, the special representative of the Quartet of Mideast peacemakers, the U.S., the UN, the European Union, and Russia, has also been invited to attend the dinner, she said. Clinton said she would then host the first direct Israel-Palestinian negotiation session on September 2nd. The leaders of Egypt and Jordan have also been invited to join in the first session of direct talks. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu welcomed the U.S. invitation to launch direct peace talks with the Palestinians. He said Israel wants serious and comprehensive talks. We're coming to these talks with a serious desire to reach a peace agreement between nations while still preserving Israel's national interest, security being the foremost of them. So, looks like they're going to sit down and talk peace. Here's a related story out of the BBC.com. Israel and Palestinians to resume direct talks. They've agreed to resume direct negotiations for the first time in 20 months, according to Hillary Clinton. So this story was pretty much all over the place. So it looks like, they can talk peace all they want, but you know what? Talk is cheap. Until you actually sit down and accomplish something, you can talk all you want till you're blue in the face. I hope they can reach peace. However, I'm one of those that I tend to go by this, and this makes me think there will be no peace until Jesus Christ comes. There will be that 3.5 year period of peace just after the signing of the confirmation of the covenant, where the world reaches an agreement with Israel and recognizes their right to exist. They establish the borders of Israel. They establish the status of the Temple Mount and the status of Jerusalem. These are all things they're working on right now. Once that agreement is signed, we know we have 7 years until the return of Christ in the Battle of Armageddon. It's one of the very few Bible prophecies that has a time date stamped on it. Okay, just one more time I want to make mention of this mosque at Ground Zero. I've gotten a lot of flack from this. It's funny, when you take a stand, people take shots at you all day long. And, I'm an American. I know the Constitution. I've read through all of it. I believe in freedom of religion. I believe in freedom of speech. I'm all for all that. However, there is a time when there's a right and a wrong thing to do. What kills me, though, is the double standard involved. Okay, there's diners at a senior citizen center in Georgia that can't say grace publicly over their federally subsidized meal. They can't say thank you God for the food because it's a federally subsidized meal. And the left says that that amounts to a government endorsement of religion. Okay, it's a little too far, but okay, bear with me on that. But the president can make a pronouncement defining Islamic theology at a Ramadan dinner in the White House, and that's not a government endorsement of religion? You know, I might not be the sharpest tool in the tool shed, but come on. You know, there's a lot of things going on. It's something that kind of bugs me I saw on the news. You know, Michelle Obama, the First Lady, the President's wife, she just came back from her luxury vacation in Spain, where, by the way, she had like 64 attendants and servants there with her. Please. But then she's off to the Gulf Coast and Martha's Vineyard. But the President signed a memorandum making her centerpiece enterprise official. The President's signature provides $8 billion for Mrs. Obama's Let's Move initiative. Her effort is aimed at eliminating childhood obesity in this generation. You know, I don't dispute childhood obesity is a growing problem. However, in light of current events and economic situations, I'm not sure that $8 billion for helping overweight kids is the best way to spend our tax dollars. You know, give me $8 billion. I'll show the kids how to eat right and to exercise and to be healthy. I just think that money could have been better spent elsewhere. But, you know, this administration is blowing through money like they got a printing press. Oh, yeah, they do. So it doesn't surprise me. Speaking of getting rich, let's see what happened in Psalm 21, verse 7. That says, "For the king trusts in the Lord, and through the mercy of the Most High he shall not be moved." Now, Psalm chapter 21 was written by David. Not David the simple shepherd boy, not David that went against Goliath, not David the fleeing fugitive, nor the young David whose place and way in life had been so uncertain, but rather this particular psalm was written by David later on in his life after he had been established as ruler over Israel and rightful heir to the throne. He composed this as king, as one who had ascended to the summit of power and success. Now notice, however, that even though David had become king at this point, he still declares his trust in the Lord. His title in life had changed, but his guiding principle had not. The very feature that distinguished David through every season of his life and propelled him forward was still strong inside him. He was still determined to be absolutely dependent on God. That's something we need to ponder, because human nature tells us that we need God less and less as we grow and gain in power. It's easy to rely on the Lord when you need Him, when we have nothing else in life to rely on. But it's as we start to ascend, as we become successful and acquire resources, that we're faced with a challenging choice. Do we trust in our newfound successes, or do we continue to trust in the Lord who remains unseen? Do we continue to depend as we ascend in life? There's no question what we ought to do, and there's no better time than right now to pray for His help in doing it. Lord, protect us from trusting in anything or anyone but You, especially in light of any successes we experience. Help us to depend on You always, no matter what happens in our life. I want to read a few other things to give you some encouragement this week. Let's go to Luke 12, verse 8 and 9. Luke 12, verse 8 and 9. Jesus said, "Also I say to you, whoever confesses Me before men, him the Son of Man also will confess before the angels of God. But he who denies Me before men will be denied before the angels of God." Let's go to John 17, verses 14 through 17. "I have given them Your word," this is Jesus talking, "and the world has hated them because they are not of this world, just as I am not of the world. I do not pray that You should take them out of the world, but that You should keep them from the evil one. They are not of the world, just as I am not of the world. Sanctify them by Your truth. Your word is truth." And I want to finish with 2 Chronicles 7:14. It's one of my favorites, but I think we need this right now. "If My people who are called by My name will humble themselves and pray and seek My face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sins and will heal their land." God bless you. Have a great weekend. Hope to see you on Monday.